Hello everyone, Juxtaposition here. Today's video will be entitled The Gabor Gambit. And of course I'm referring to the Gabor sisters and their ubiquitous mother, the ever-present leader and matriarch of the family that is Jewish nobility status. That is the story of the Gabor sisters. And Gambit, as you may know from playing chess, is a tactical move where you give up something to gain an advantage. And of course, this is a move that's very standard in most sports and military operations. Gambits. You always have poker playing and chess, bluffing, deceptions, and diversions in order to gain an advantage over your opponent. And why would that be different when we're talking about social engineering anthropology, which is really the story of the Gabor sisters and their highly motivated mother? All right, so where do we start the story? Well, I'd like to start with Zsa Zsa Gabor, but because I personally met her. I met her with her ninth husband. That's right, I said ninth husband. And of course, you know him to be the prince of an unknown nation, right? Frederick Prince von Anhalt. I met Zsa Zsa Gabor and her ninth husband on Rodeo Drive on the sidewalk right outside of Cartier's jewelry store in Beverly Hills, 90210. I'm not joking. I met her in April 1990, and this was approximately 9 months after she had slapped a Beverly Hills policeman who had pulled her over for speeding on Olympic Boulevard, and found that she had a flask of whiskey under her seat, and she was pulled over specifically at 8551 Olympic Boulevard. Anyway, she revved her motor and drove away from the police officer. She later was rearrested and booked into the Beverly Hills jail, and after months of appeals and preliminary hearings, she eventually capitulated to serving 3 days in jail, and she was to do 90 days of community service, which she blew off and never performed. And the judge didn't have her rearrested as contempt of court. She got away with it. And I met her whilst that legal process was going on. There's Zsa Zsa Gabor, and she's wearing her white dress with black polka dots. Her handsome husband, Frederick Prince von Anhalt, he is age 41. She's age 73. And he was wearing a blue blazer double breast, charcoal gray slacks, and expensive Italian shoes. He looked quite dapper. He looked older than 41, and Zsa Zsa looked younger than 73. So I thought they were closer in age than they really were, because you can see she's 32 years older than her ninth husband, Zsa Zsa Gabor. And I think Zsa Zsa Gabor is best known for being famous, right? Her older sister, Magna Gabor, had 6 marriages, 3 divorces, 1 annulment, and 2 deaths which widowed her. So let's call that 6. Then Zsa Zsa had 9 marriages, of which we're calling 7 divorces. 1 was annulled, and 1 she was widowed by Frederick Prince von Anhalt, who predeceased her by about a year and a half. He died in 2015, and Zsa Zsa died at the end of 2016, December 18th. Zsa Zsa was 99 years old. Her ninth husband was 67 years old when he died. There's only so much you can handle when you marry a Gabor sister. Her youngest sister was Eva Gabor, who starred in Green Acres television show, which ran 1965 through 1971, which was part of the CBS television family, which was running simultaneously to the Beverly Hillbillies, which of course featured the Beverly Hillbillies mansion, which was actually in Bel Air at 750 Bel Air Road, where Lachlan Murdoch now resides, which has a purported value of $150 million. It looks directly into the Sharon Tate, Abigail Folger murder scene from the backyard, from the cement pond. That is it's a straight line into the Cielo Drive murder property. From the backside, I would estimate the distance at being, around 1,000 meters or less. Perhaps it's 800 yards away. Eva Gabor starred with Eddie Arnold, who played Oliver Wendell Douglas, a New York attorney, and his wife, Lisa Douglas, who was a Park Avenue socialite, and they decided to leave the big city behind, the rat race of Manhattan, New York, and move to Hooterville, home to Petticoat Junction. So I'm thinking Sharon Tate probably knew Eva Gabor, since she did appear in the pilot for Petticoat Junction, and she was in numerous episodes of the Beverly Hillbillies prior to the beginning of Green Acres. But she also knew Bruce Lee, who helped train her for the Wrecking Crew film that she starred with Dean Martin, who played Matt Helms. And that movie, I believe, was done in 1968. And Eva Gabor was married and divorced 5 times. So in terms of who's running the show in the Gabor family, Zsa Zsa is the middle sister. So the eldest sister was married 6 times, and Zsa Zsa was married 9 times, and Eva Gabor was married 5 times. Now, to put things in perspective, if you're a serious person in Hollywood, you need to be married a minimum of 4 times. So it appears that all three out of 3 Gabor sisters, they're all exceeding the average, right? Unbelievable. So you do know that this story emanates from Budapest, Hungary, which is sort of kind of a part of Austria. And all 3 of these young ladies were born in Budapest, Austria/Hungary. They're all from a Jewish family of nobility status because their mother was the big shot. And so I want to pivot now to Jonka Telemann, who goes by Jolie Gabor. But her maiden name was Telemann, Jonka Telemann, and she comes from a Jewish jeweler family that had a major jewelry store in Budapest, Hungary. Her parents were Jonah Hirsch Telemann and Cha Ferge, later changed to Francesca Telemann. They come from nobility status. The Tillmans were jewelers who owned a jewelry store that was known as the Diamond House. Her father, of course, changed his first name to Joseph. The Tillman family's Jewish descent is well known, well documented by a number of different people. They opened stores in other cities. The Nazis occupied this section of Austria, which is actually part of the Ukraine and Hungary today. And when that happened, of course, the Gabor family fled using their clandestine service Underground Railroad through their State Department. And they left Hungary behind to eventually end up, of course, in New York, which is where everybody ends up, like Roman Polanski, like Wojtek Frykowski, like Jerzy Skaczynski, all the people that ended up working with Abigail Folger and Sharon Tate, they all escaped the Nazis in Poland via an underground railroad invisible hand that transported them magically to Manhattan, New York. This seems to be the hub for Jewish people who are recruited into social engineering crisis actor roles, as was Roman Polanski, as was Jerzy Kaczynski, as was the Gabor sisters, who really have no outstanding skills or talent other than being the daughters of their parents, their mother particularly. Because I don't think their father came from nobility class. He was an officer in the military, and he produced the three daughters. Okay? And of course, the mother, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. The Vimos Gabor was the father of the three Gabor daughters. They were married from 1914 until 1939, whereupon she switched out her husband for Howard Peter Christman, and they were married 1947 to 1948, less than a year. Then she marries Count Auden Stinsley, and they are married 1957 until he died in 1989. So 3 marriages from the mother, who goes by Jolie Gabor, but was born Jonka Tilleman. You should know that Jolie Gabor's brother had a daughter who she was the aunt of, and her daughter, his name is Annette Tilleman, and she married Thomas Santos, Tom Santos, who was also born in Budapest, Hungary. You should know that he came to the United States and took Leo Ryan, the congressman who was killed in CIA People's Temple agricultural project, which the media has convinced you that's called Jonestown. No, it existed before Jim Jones was born, and it exists, I'm sure, today in some form. But for the purposes of the mass suicide/homicide murders of over 900 people in the jungles of British Guiana, Leo Ryan was killed. Now, Leo Ryan was completely and utterly controlled by the CIA, and I believe he was a member of the CIA, as were his daughters after his death. And all members of the United States Congress are CIA controlled. That would include Nancy Pelosi. That would include Dianne Feinstein, who's supposedly a member of the fake Senate. That would include your favorite Congress people, like Ron DeSantis was a congressperson for a while before he became a fake governor. This would include, of course, Ron Johnson and people that sing the songs that you like to hear regarding COVID. But I'm telling you, they're all CIA operatives, and they all obey their orders, or else. Or else. It's maritime law. It's very simple. So, okay, circling back now to the Gabor sisters. Like I said, it was Magna Gabor, and she died in Palm Springs at the age of 81. She died just a few months after her mother died. Jolie died. I have this information in different places, and I get a little confused. So Jolie, the matriarch of this family, she died in Palm Springs, California at age 100 on April 1st, April Fool's Day, 1997. On April Fool's Day, Jonka Tilleman, a.k.a. Jolie Gabor, died at age 100. Then, exactly 2 months and 6 days later, her eldest daughter, Magna Gabor, died at age 81, also in Palm Springs, California. Then, you should know that it was Eva Gabor who passed away next. Eva Gabor, who starred with Eddie Arnold in Green Acres, she died July 4th 1995 at age 76. So actually, I got it out of order. The youngest daughter died first, then the mother, then the eldest daughter, and then Zsa Zsa Gabor died on December 18, 2016 at age 99. And when I met her, she was 73 years old. She had had one of her legs partially amputated. You should know that Zsa Zsa Gabor lived at 1001 Bel Air Road, which, in case you don't know, that's directly across the street from Art Linklater, who lived at 1100 Bel Air Road, 1100 Bel Air Road, which looks right down at the Sharon Tate murder scene. The Art Linklater property of 1100 Bel Air Road is above and to the west of the Sharon Tate swimming pool, where Abigail Folger was bayoneted. You could see directly from the swimming pool of Art Linklater's house, which has been torn down and is being in a state of suspended animation because it's been just a foundation for almost 10 years now. So I don't know what they're going to do with that property. Eva Gabor's immediate next door neighbor was Julio Iglesias. He resided at 1100 Bel Air Place, a cul-de-sac. You could also say that Bel Air Road is a cul-de-sac because it too also dead ends just above Zsa Zsa Gabor's house and Art Linklater's house. So I'm going to call Bel Air Road a cul-de-sac, and I'm going to call Bel Air Place a cul-de-sac off a cul-de-sac. This is an extremely remote location, people. Extremely remote. So if you wanted to control Julio Iglesias, who, by the way, when he moved out, Quincy Jones moved in. All right. So if you want to control Quincy Jones and Julio Iglesias and Art Linklater and Zsa Zsa Gabor, you put them atop the very tippy top of Bel Air Road, because there's only one way in and out of that place, and unless you want to hoof it down to Stone Canyon Reservoir, you are in a pickle. It's a military-controlled area. The home that Zsa Zsa Gabor resided in was 9,000 square feet. It was originally constructed in 1955 for Howard Hughes. I don't know that he ever moved into it, but in 1970, Zsa Zsa Gabor moved into that home, and that's the home that she resided when she died. She moved in that home in 1970. So she was living there when I met her in Beverly Hills on Rodeo Drive at Cartier's Jewelry. I had no idea that her mother was in the jewelry business, but that's the way it is. So anyway, I thought you would get a kick out of that. The only reason that these people are known on television is because people like Merv Griffin and Dominic Dunn and all the Hollywood gossip writers promote them, because they have no particular skills, they have no particular talent other than coming from Jewish nobility status that were repositioned from Budapest to New York to Los Angeles to Palm Springs. All right, so let me just see where Eva Gabor passed away. What do you think the chances are? What do you think the chances are? Okay, it was Los Angeles, so she's living in Beverly Hills, Bel Air also. All right, well, anyway, I can go on and on about this case, but I think I'm going to just wind it up here. We're talking about the mother, who went by Jolie Gabor. We're talking about Magna Gabor, that almost nobody knows. We're talking about Zsa Zsa Gabor. We're talking about her younger sister, Eva Gabor from Green Acres. And Eddie Arnold also appeared in a Columbo, Dead Weight, which forecasted, again, the murder of Natalie Wood, who was dead weight when they dragged her out of the harbor at Santa Catalina Island. See, so you had Identity Crisis, which forecasted the murder of William Holden. And then 10 days after, or 13 days after William Holden was discovered, Natalie Wood is discovered drowned as dead weight under the water at Santa Catalina Island. So she's dead weight. So you got two different Columbo shows, one entitled Identity Crisis, which is associated with predicting the death of William Holden. And then you have the dead weight episode of Columbo, which predicts the dead weight drowning of Natalie Wood. And we also have, Identity Crisis showcases the Enchanted Hillside house at 1431 Davies Drive, named after Marion Davies, which is directly above the Sharon Tate Abigail murder scene. I'd say within 600 yards away, whereas the Doris Duke home is about 250 yards away. So, but I'm telling you is that these complexes are designed deliberately on purpose. These homes are set up deliberately on purpose. The residents who get to use the homes temporarily are selected deliberately on purpose. It's not an accident that Zsa Zsa Gabor moved into that home. I sincerely doubt she used her own money to live there. I think she gets to have the house for free, even though she's wealthy, because her family is wealthy. I don't know the finances of them, but I'm assuming they could afford the home. But it's not necessary. I don't think that Lachlan Murdoch paid $150 million for a 28 bathroom home, 750 Bella Road, better known as the Beverly Hillbillies mansion. I don't think he paid $150 million for that home. I think that home was assigned to him, and Ronald Reagan was ensconced directly below that property at 666 St. Cloud Road, directly below the Beverly Hillbillies property house. Ronald Reagan. I don't think he paid for that house. I think that was provisionally assigned to Ronald Reagan. All right, that's it for today. I wanted to tell you that one of the 9 husbands that Zsa Zsa was married to, of course, was Conrad Hilton. And Conrad Hilton, of course, is famous for his Hilton hotel chain, his Hilton resorts. You should know that he provided hotel accommodation for the CIA in Manhattan when Frank Olson from the United States Army Bioweapons Lab in Maryland at Fort Detrick, he was thrown out of the 13th floor of the Statler Hilton Hotel in East Side, Midtown Manhattan. Frank Olson murdered in a Conrad Hilton hotel. Then we had Fidel Castro become the Prime Minister of Cuba on January 1st, 1959, and he opens up his prime ministry offices at Conrad Hilton's Hotel in Havana, Cuba. That's 2. Then we have Amsterdam, Holland, where Conrad Hilton provides a hotel for Yoko Ono and John Lennon for their Bed-In for Peace in 1969. I believe that was in March 1969. So there were 2 Bed-Ins for Peace. The first one was in Amsterdam at the Hilton Hotel, and the second one was several months later in Montreal, Canada at the St. Elizabeth Hotel. All right? But the first Bed-In for Peace was after the Beatles broke up, and it was at a Conrad Hilton Hotel in Amsterdam. Then we, of course, have the Beverly Hills Hilton Hotel, which is first known for the discovery of Bob Evans, that he says he was discovered at the swimming pool at the Beverly Hills Hotel. His name is, by the way, Robert Shapira. He's a Jewish man from Manhattan, New York. But he says he was discovered as a young man at the Beverly Hills Hilton Hotel. It's also home to the annual Christmas party for Lockheed CIA technical surveillance subcontractor, military contractor Lockheed. This is where Bart Seibel confronted Buzz Aldrin about, swearing on a Bible that he walked on the moon, and Buzz wouldn't swear, just like Neil Armstrong wouldn't swear that he walked on the moon, because they didn't walk on the moon, okay? But the point is that Bart Seibel, he works for CIA also. He's to, entrap people that are, like me, who are really skeptical. But I'm not a Bart Seibel fan, okay? He is a phony, fake fraud. But you know what? So's Neil Armstrong. And so is Buzz Aldrin, who's an alcoholic fraud. And Buzz Aldrin occasionally does utter the truth about the Apollo program in the way that Gus Grisham did. Except Gus Grisham, of course, got murdered. Gus Grisham, he said it's a lemon, that you're not going to the moon anytime in the next 25 years, okay? I would say, 25,000 years, because we're very focused on chemtrails and low Earth orbit and radio frequency. We're not interested in the moon. We were never interested in the moon. We're interested in pacification and control tools, which Lockheed Martin would be in charge of supervising. Anyway, they make the Hilton Hotel their base camp for the Skunk Works. It's where they hand out their annual awards, and that's where Francis Gary Powers was bitch slapped by the Skunk Works demagogue. I can't even say his name. He's such an odious person. But the father of the SR-71, Kelly Johnson, who's a complete CIA-controlled tool. He bitch-slapped Francis Gary Powers after he spent 2 years in prison in Moscow. What a jerk. What a flaming jerk. But that's what you're dealing with, people. You're dealing with Jewish nobility, Hilton Hotels, Lockheed, military contractors like Hughes Aircraft, Hughes Space and Communications, porn. You're dealing with the Ivy League schools, and you're dealing with indoctrination of the stupefaction of America. And by the way, yes, we have a chemtrail attack today and military helicopters, plural. There are 2 military helicopters flying over my town just before I started recording this. I pointed this out to a dog walker I saw today. He completely unconcerned. There are 2 chemtrails being actively dumped directly over his head. He doesn't look up. He's not concerned about the obnoxiously loud helicopters, which I pointed to. He's not concerned about it. I would say that's pretty stupid. You're under military attack, and you're just wanting to walk your dogs and wear your sunglasses and look down at the sidewalk. Anyway, that's the world in which we live, as Paul McCartney sung. I don't know that he wrote those conflicting words. Have a great day. Please like and share my videos. I am Shadow Band. Take care.